You know, building your own home, it's the ultimate dream, right? But let's be real, the first thing that pops into everyone's head is that one big practical question. What is this actually going to cost me? Well, today we're going to break that down and get you some real answers.
So where does everyone start? Almost always, it's with this question right here. It feels like the right place to begin, especially if you're looking to build here in East Tennessee. You just want a ballpark number to wrap your head around. But, and this is a big but, is it the right question to be asking?
Okay, time for a little reality check. You're going to hear numbers thrown around all over the place. Maybe $17 a square foot, maybe over $275. But here's the thing, that average cost, it's kind of a blunt instrument. Frankly, for any real planning, it's a pretty useless number. It's just way too broad to mean anything for your specific project.
Just look at this for a second. We've got two houses, right? Both are exactly 2,000 square feet. The house on the left? Super simple, rectangular shape, builder-grade finishes, and it's on a nice, flat, easy lot. Its cost is going to be way down at the low end of that average we just talked about. But then, you look at the one on the right. Same exact size, but wow, complex design, fancy finishes, and it's built on a tricky, sloped, wooded lot. The cost for that one? It's going to soar way past the high end of the average. And that right there is the problem in a nutshell. Same size, totally different price tags.
So, okay, if asking for the cost per square foot is the wrong move, then what's the right way to think about your budget? We've got to shift our perspective here. Instead of casing some magic one-size-fits-all number, we need to dig into the actual things that drive the costs up or down. So let's do that. We're going to break it down into 4 main factors that really matter.
All right, first things first, factor number 1, the land and getting the site ready. Believe it or not, long before a single 2x4 arrives, some of your biggest costs are already locked in by the piece of dirt you choose to build on.
And this is where so many budgets get into trouble right out of the gate. You see, the price you pay for the lot, that's just the beginning. Is it covered in trees? Well, you gotta pay to clear them. Is the land on a slope or super rocky? You're looking at a way more complicated and expensive foundation. And oh yeah, utilities. Connecting to city water and sewer is one thing, but if you have to drill a well and put in a septic system, that's a whole other ballgame and a huge expense that people often forget about.
Okay, let's move on to the second big piece of the puzzle, the architectural design and its complexity. I mean, how complicated is the blueprint? This is a massive driver of the final cost. You know, the choices you make on paper have this huge ripple effect. Think about it. Every single extra corner you add to the house, that's not just a cool design detail. It directly adds to your labor and material costs. Or what about the roof? A really complex roof with all sorts of gables and valleys looks incredible, for sure, but it's way, way more expensive to build than a simple, straightforward roof. These decisions you make early on, they have consequences that ripple through the whole project.
All right, on to factor number 3. Now, this is the fun part for a lot of people, but it's also where you have the most direct control over the budget. We're talking about materials and finishes. And let me tell you, the choices you make here can swing your final cost by tens, and I mean tens of thousands of dollars.
Let's make this real with a few examples. Look at the outside of the house. You could go with standard vinyl siding. It's the most budget-friendly option. Or you could invest in a full brick exterior, which is on the premium end. Then you move inside. Are you thinking laminate countertops, or are you dreaming of high-end quartz? Are you going with luxury vinyl plank flooring, or is nothing but solid hardwood going to do? Every single one of those choices has a different look, a different feel, and, you guessed it, a very different price tag.
And that brings us to our 4th and final factor. This is the stuff that's not as glamorous, but it's absolutely essential. We're talking about the permits, fees, and all the regulations. These are the hard costs you simply can't avoid on any build. So what does that mean? Well, you've got to plan for things like the building permits from the county. And getting that permit kicks off a whole series of mandatory inspections for your foundation, your framing, everything, to make sure the house is safe and up to code. And hey, if you're building somewhere really special, like historic Jonesborough, there's often an extra review process to make sure your new home's design fits with the area's character. It's what keeps the town looking great, but it's another step and another cost that you have to factor in.
Okay, so we've walked through the 4 big factors, but what does that actually look like when the money starts flying? Let's try to put it all together and look at a sample cost breakdown so you can see where the money really goes.
So where does all that cash go? Well, you might be surprised. The biggest single slice of the budget pie, we're talking up to 30%, often goes to the interior finishes. That's your drywall, your paint, the flooring, cabinets, countertops, all the stuff you see and touch every day. After that, you've got the big chunks for framing and the exterior.
It just goes to show you, a home's cost isn't one big number. It's really the sum of a whole bunch of smaller, but still significant parts.
Okay, let's circle back to our 2,000 square foot house. What's a real range look like after you've already bought the land? Well, here we go. If you stick with good quality but standard builder-grade finishes, you're probably looking in the neighborhood of $380,000 to $440,000. But if you start making those significant upgrades, we're talking hardwood floors, custom cabinets, a brick exterior, that same exact size house could easily jump up to $550,000 or even more.
Whew. Okay, so understanding where the costs come from is step one. But the next and maybe most important step is managing them so things don't get out of control. So how do you make sure your project actually runs smoothly?
I'm going to give you 3 absolute keys to a successful build. First, and this is the big one, choosing your builder is the single most important decision you will make. Do your homework, find someone trustworthy with a proven track record. Second, insist on a super detailed contract. Get everything in writing. And third, and listen, this is totally non-negotiable, you have to have a contingency fund of at least 10%. This isn't just extra cash to play with, it's your safety net for the unexpected things that always come up. It's what will save you from a ton of financial stress later on.
So it's pretty clear by now that what's the cost per square foot is just the wrong question to ask. The real answer, your answer, is found when you dig into the details, the land, the design, your materials, and all the fees. Once you understand those 4 things, you can stop guessing with a vague, misleading number and start planning with a real, empowered, and realistic budget. We've given you the framework, so now the only question that really matters is this: what will your dream home truly cost?